My interest on places like this, on biodiversity, animals and forests, actually started when I was very young. I felt that exploring the world around me was the best thing I could do. My first passion was snakes. It's still actually a big passion. I love snakes. I always aim to find snakes. But actually, since I'm interested in general in biodiversity, I'm now actually moving into mammals and other groups. I've been in many forests in the last 20, 25 years. And I have to say that the forest itself here is really special. It's the forest of my dreams. It's full of life. Everywhere you turn is something magic.
Probably one of the most passionate people I have met. Give him 5 minutes and he's going to find some or other cricket or something here that's never been listed everywhere, anywhere, and he's going to tell you exactly what this is. And he's got this incredible ability to take very complex concepts and bring it to people in a way that we can understand it, each one of us. Michele, we look forward to listening to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Science is telling us that we are messing up our planet, especially the living part of our planet. Rocks and stones are fine. And we have the ability to do that. I am not sure we have the ability to counteract the consequences of what we do. And so I've started thinking that I want to learn more if we really are able to solve the problems we are creating. We are all here because we would like to somehow solve the problems. But am I good enough as representative of my species to do it? Or are we good enough as representative of the Homo sapiens species to do that? I wanted to start in order to set the scene with one of the most powerful photographs ever taken. Was 14th February 1974, taken by the space probe Voyager 1 from a distance of 6 billion kilometers from Earth. And Carl Sagan, who was part of the project, said, "We succeeded in taking the picture. And if you look at it, you see a dot. And that's here, that's us, that's home. That's our planet. And that's everything we have. There's no other places. Mars is not an option. And no one will come and help us to sort the mess we are doing. We have to do it." In my attempt to understand if I'm good enough, I met some main characters. And this is the first one, cockroaches. People working in the pest control business, they have great faith in cockroaches because they know they will keep them in the business forever. They have been here for 350 million years, and they are special because they use very simple strategies. They have very effective and simple tools to cope with complex things, like surviving for such a long time. This makes them resilient, so they are very good in cope with changes. One of the strategy they have, which I like the most, is the fact that when they feel a sudden air movement coming their way, they just go the other way. They choose a random direction. They just go the other way. It could be a predator. It could also be something else. But when they feel a sudden air movement, they move away from the problem. That is a way for them to solve the problem. I mean, not to be killed by a predator. It's like the mother of the precautionary principle. I mean, they don't play around with dangerous things. They just move away. That strategy is an example of adaptation or adaptive trait. An adaptive trait is something that helps an organism to thrive, to be successful, to be fit to the place where they live. For example, the long bill of the hummingbird is an adaptive trait, but also the wings of the hummingbird or the rattle of the rattlesnake to warn possible problems, other big animals that can step on them, or predators, or the warning colors of the poison arrow frog. They're all adaptive traits. Also, intelligence is an adaptive trait. And the funny thing about intelligence is, first, intelligence is a continuum. It's not something that we have and other animals don't. There's a lot of animals, we are in good company, there's a lot of animals around us which are really bright. We are clearly at the extreme, but they are bright as well. For example, big apes, chimps, bonobos, orangutan, gorilla, they're not that far. There's a gap, of course, but the gap is only in terms of quantity, not quality. They do exactly what we do. They are self-conscious. They mourn for their death. They use tools. They have complex social systems. So intelligence is an adaptive trait, and it's shared by many animals. Not only them, also parrots, but also invertebrates like squid and octopus, but you can go all the way down to the amoeba over there. So an adaptive trait is something that has been forming through evolutionary processes and helped the organism to survive. Means that it was evolving for a specific reason. And our intelligence is very good in doing certain things and not good in doing other things. For example, we are extremely good in modifying the environment. We have an analytical approach to things. We take, we dig, we move mountains, we divert rivers, we take substances from the earth crust and we build up other things, and we are great in doing that. But our intelligence is an adaptive trait, not necessarily is something that let us properly read in the reality out there as it is. Basically, it tells us what us as a species should see out there, not exactly what is going on. This is a very simple example. So my brain can fool me. In the cognitive illusion, basically we combine the perceived reality with a priori assumption that we have already in. And we think we see a woman face. There's no woman face there, or a square, or a cube. There's no square or cube. And this happens every day. We think we read properly what is out there, but we don't do it. And we have to be careful. And on this, science helps a lot, because science is a way to cross-check and keep testing and see if it's really that way. And if it's not, we move away, new theory, and we try again to understand. And science is telling us that we are messing up the planet. We are doing a funny thing, because we are doing things that are causing a lot of losses to other species, and we know is also causing losses to us, and in the future is even causing more losses to us. So basically, what we are doing, causing losses to others and causes losses to us. This made me think into a booklet published in 1974 by an Italian economist called Carlo Cipolla on the basic laws of human stupidity. And the law number 3 says that a stupid person is the one that does things that cause losses to others without any gain for him, or even incurring him in losses as well. So I've been thinking, intelligence is not actually what distinguishes us from the other animals, but maybe stupidity. I think it's the first time that an organism on this planet is able to do stupid things consistently. And it's what we are doing. And stupidity is like an emergent property of a complex interaction of human society. So it doesn't mean that we individually are stupid, but our society is a complex system. And then I will tell you something about complex systems now. Complex systems are characterized by the presence of emergent properties, emergent behaviors. And seems that stupidity is one of the most remarkable emergent behavior of human society. And I have to tell you about complexity because I think our stupidity is linked to complexity. So there are complicated things and complex things. The car is complicated. I mean, it's easy because we are good in applying analytical approach. You take a car, you dismantle a car, and if you know exactly the function of each part, you can reassemble the car and you have the car back. We are very good in that. That's lasagne. That's complex. A complex system is composed by many interacting parts, following individual rules, and there are emergent properties. In the case of lasagna, the emergent property is something that you feel when you eat it. Let's call it lasagniness. And only lasagne has that emergent property. And the approach to those two things is completely different because the car, the word complicated comes from complicum, means with creases, with folds. So if you unfold the complex things, you understand it. A complex things, the word complex comes from complexum, with nodes and links. And if you have to deal with something with node and links, means that you have to use, like the cockroach, simple and clear rule to help the system go in a certain way. If you want to deal with a lasagna, you don't need to dismantle or disassemble a lasagna. It's not going to work. What you have to do is to put it in the oven and play around with some variables in order to invite and force the lasagna to go the right path, because lasagna is path dependent, and become a tasty, juicy lasagna at the end. This is just to make it simple, and a very simple thing of complex behavior. Swarm, that's the sky of Rome. Those are starlings. You know, they move like there's a fantastic director behind them. But actually, they just follow three very simple rules: cohesion, separation, alignment. So each single starling is part of a complex system, but he doesn't know what is going around him. He just follows very simple, clear rule. Stay in the center of the surrounding starling, don't go too close to the others, and follow the direction. And that's it. And the emergent property is the swarm behavior that doesn't exist at the level of the single starling. It's like the fact of being liquid for the water. It's an emergent property of the complex interaction of the molecules, but each single molecule is not liquid, okay? So the most complex thing we have on this planet is the global ecosystem. The global ecosystem is a complex system of complex systems, and we are not good at that. We don't understand that. That's why we do models. All models are false, but they're also useful, and they help us to understand what is out there. But in order to understand, what we are doing and what are the trends, we take single part of this thing and we chart them. This is like the dashboard of our planet. All these things you can see, they are like deforestation rate, ocean acidification, all those things. Those things tell us that we are undergoing what it has been called the great acceleration. From the Industrial Revolution to now, all those curves, they're increasing very slightly. And then about 50, 60 years ago, they started picking up. They are becoming exponential. And this is worrying because it's telling us there's no time. An exponential thing, if you have an exponential problem, you also need exponential solutions. It means that we have to start quite quickly to find them. So this is what is happening out there. These things are all interlinked. They cannot be solve individually. I mean, ocean acidification is not just because of ocean. I mean, that problem is interlinked with all the others. Means that we have to apply to our planet the same principle we have to apply to the lasagne. I mean, we cannot try to understand the planet in each single component, but we have to adopt a systemic approach and help the planet. Now, basically, by doing things randomly, just because we have to achieve certain things and we are impacting on the planet in a certain way, we are kind of forcing the planet on a certain path. And the climate change, the global warming is one of the signs. So the planet is going a certain way. And that way means more temperature, coral reef problems, deforestation, a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere. That's the way. We cannot solve the problem by trying to solve each individual problem. We have to try to steer away the Earth from that and invite the Earth to go the right way. Otherwise, next generation will have a much, much more problematic planet to live in. So what I have learned from this, that we have to achieve resilience. We have to achieve the capacity of the Earth system to keep coping with changes, as it has been doing at least for the last 100,000 years, where we have been thriving. And to do this, we have to adopt very simple and clear rules that help us to deal with complexity. Thank you.